Perfect. 6:10. Welcome, guys, to the second session of the year with Federated Hermes. Super excited to have them back on this year, running the internship programs again with Beyond Education and really opening some great opportunities for you guys. I think last year there was a heavy skew towards the investment side of things, but this year it's clear that you guys are really interested in roles outside of investments, because this was the most oversubscribed webinar we've had to date. 393 people signed up, and it looks like you guys are interested in technology, marketing, and accounting. So that's really kind of good to see, and we're going to take that insight on board to make sure that we're providing opportunities in that breath as well. With that being said, a few housekeeping rules, guys. Make sure you put yourself on mute. Feel free to turn on your cameras if you want. You may get brownie points for that. I don't know. But, just think of all the questions that you're going to ask. This is going to be a very informative session today. And of course, we have to thank our the guys at Federated Hermes for taking the time out after work to kind of do this. This is after working hours. So with that being said, just be mindful of that, and super grateful for that. But with that being said, we can get started, and I will just share the presentation on my side. Bear with me. Okay, let me know if you guys can see this. Just sharing now. Oh. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jessica from the recruitment team, and I'm just going to give you a run through of what this session will look like for today. So as said, I'm the talent acquisition partner here at Federated Hermes, and we're just going to give you some insight as to early careers, the 2024 program here, followed by an overview of Federated Hermes by Lloyd. Back to Lorna, our L&D partner, to run through the program, what that looks like, and then back to Lloyd to give an overview of his team, any insights on what that looks like, followed by Mark within technology and Raj at digital marketing, and then any questions for after. So to Lloyd.
Thanks, Jess. So just to give you kind of a little bit of an overview on Federated Hermes and how we became Federated Hermes. So we was founded in 1983 to manage the pension funds of BT and the Post Office. We became Hermes Pension Management in 1998. We were subsequently acquired by Federated Inc. in 2020, and we merged together, became Federated Hermes. This was obviously quite a significant deal as we went from kind of 50 billion assets under management to over 715 billion assets under management with Federated, and 1.4 trillion assets under stewardship. So we offer like a number of solutions across a wide range of asset classes, which includes equity, fixed income, real estate, private equity, and private debt, and money market products. This is to focus on creating a sustainable wealth for our investors, also through stewardship. Since 1983, we've been devoted to creating sustainable wealth for investors through stewardship. And stewardship comes from the word steward, someone appointed to look after someone else's property, and in financial terms, a representative of the owner of an asset who acts within the owner's interest and enhances the value of this asset. We act as stewards by taking an active approach to investing, informed through the consideration of financial, environment, social, and governance factors, as called ESG, to mitigate potential risks. This involves engaging with investee companies to drive change and enhance long-term value. Engagement has been part of our approach ever since 1983, when our CEO, Ralph, criticised Marks and Spencers for their special loans that they made to their directors. We have a global footprint now with Federated Hermes, with offices all around the world, including UK, US, which within the US, we have offices in New York, Boston, Pittsburgh, and Houston, Tokyo, Singapore, and Madrid, just to name a few. And we have over 2,000 employees globally. So back to Lorna. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, Lloyd and Jess. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Lorna Ferguson. I am the Learning and Talent Development Partner here at FHL. And I've just come onto the call to give you a little bit of an overview as to the learning and development support that myself and the team will be providing to the summer intern programme coming up this year. So Stephen, thank you so much. This is an overview of the types of things that you'll get to experience as part of the 10-week programme. So first of all, there'll be a group project. So this is an opportunity for you to work together with the other interns for the duration of the programme. And then at the end of the programme, you get to present to a senior panel and also other managers and get feedback. So it's a great challenge. And I've got a slide where I'll show you what the project brief from last year looked like in a minute. As well as the group project, we will be organising lunch and learns with professionals across lots of our teams for all of the interns to participate in. That will include teams like responsibility, EOS, sales, operations, trading, equities, real estate. So you'll really get a chance, regardless of which bit of the business you're in, to understand what the teams here do. So it's a really fantastic opportunity. We also provide some business skills sessions. I won't read them out to you. You can see them on the slide. And also a CV and interview skills workshop. We also will ensure that we've got a day for you provided by one of our leading study providers where you get a whole day's introduction to asset management. Because this takes place over the summer, there'll be other things going on, like the company summer social, so you get to participate in that. And we also have a number of employee networks in place across the firm. So anything that they're doing, and they run things all the time, webinars and different events that you can join up to, you'll be very welcome to participate in those. So that's things like our gender network, race and ethnicity network, multi-generational network. We have a number of them. They're really central to life here at FHL. And I'm sure that anyone who is here will really enjoy participating in those. So that's a kind of overview of the programme itself. Next slide, please. This time, I didn't even change it from yesterday. Should say 2023 example. So this is last year's example of the schedule. And the reason that I included this is just to highlight that the learning and development activity that we provide for you happens throughout your time here. It's not all squashed into one day at the beginning. Throughout the whole 10 weeks, you'll have the opportunity to network with each other, to participate in the different events that are going on. So it's a constant cycle of learning. And then finally, my last slide. Thank you. I said that I would just show you what the project brief looks like from last year. So, as I said, great opportunity for interns to participate in a group project. So in this example, they were given a bit of background information, and then were able to put together an investment proposal, fund proposal, and articulate what services FHL were able to provide, and then deliver that within a 20-minute pitch. So it's a great opportunity to work with our professionals here and get the benefit of their knowledge and also feedback, both in terms of technical knowledge, but also in terms of presentation skills and all the things that go along with that. So we have a great programme lined up for the summer interns this year. So that's it from me for the minute, Stephen. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's back to me. So just to kind of give you just a bit of an overview of operations, and then my team personally, which is the fund administration team. So the operations team supports all public and private markets business at Federated Hermes. Federated Hermes have outsourced all its back office and middle office operations to our third-party service providers. The main role within our Federated Hermes operations team is the oversight of the services that have been outsourced with minimum production responsibility held within the teams. We have a number of key functional areas within operations, which include middle office oversight, data operations, regulatory reporting, performance and market data, real estate finance, and then the team that I am in, which is fund administration, which within that's in private debt as well. Within operations, we have roughly around 46 employees, 109 funds/accounts, and over 30 outsourced relationships. Move to the next. So just to kind of give you a bit of a flavour of, fund administration and private debt. So private debt is a new team that's kind of come into our world. So head of fund administration and transitions has recently taken on private debt. So this is a new part of our team that we're kind of learning at the moment, emerging together. So, the successful candidate will have, a view of both private debt and the UCITS and Cayman funds. So within fund administration, we have 4 people within the team. So that includes myself. We have an associate director, assistant manager, and an associate. We have 21 UCITS funds, Irish UCITS funds, with 1 Cayman fund, trading roughly around 15,000 per month, and we have over 13 billion in AUM that sit within our team. As mentioned previously, most part of our role is like oversight and managing our relationship with our third-party suppliers, but also there's a huge focus on value added and process improvement. So the fund administration role is quite broad. Like we have a number of kind of relationships, etc., that we manage. One of them being fund accounting, which is we've got everything to do with the NAV. So this includes NAV production, verification, audit control, and share class hedging oversight. We have statutory reporting, so that's the annual and interim financial accounts. And for our Cayman fund, this is on an annual basis. We have transfer agency, which is client onboarding, dealing, investor service center, AML oversight and query management. So this is everything to do with the shareholder records of all our investors. We also have custody oversight, which is market openings, proxy POAs, and withholding tax. We have depository oversight, local tax services, which includes Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Italy, and UK tax filings. We are an escalation point for all fund administration issues, and we also work on a number of projects, including fund launches and closures for particular products that we have here. As mentioned previously, we have private debt, which is a new team that has joined within our world. So there's 3 people within that team with 5 funds with an AUM of over 1.4 billion. They're close-ended fund structures covering both real estate and direct lending. They also manage relationships with back office suppliers, and similar to ourselves, they have a number of kind of roles within their team, which includes fund accounting, statutory reporting, transfer agency, and again, they also have a number of projects, fund launches, fund closures, and they're also an escalation point with private debt issues. So we are kind of the subject matter experts on all of these kind of streams of work, but we are extremely focused on value added and process improvement. So just to give what we're kind of the candidate we're looking for is, someone who has a keen interest in the asset management industry, forward thinking and enthusiastic about active and responsible investment management. And I'm sure that's the same for all the teams that are recruitment for an intern this summer. Strong interpersonal communication skills with the ability to manage a number of relationships, which is essential to the role. We communicate with a number of outsourced TPAs. We also have a number of relationships that we manage internally, so we're quite connected inside and outside the business. Strong organizational skills with ability to prioritize and manage a number of activities concurrently, and again MS Office skills, particularly in Excel. And just kind of give you an idea of what the candidate should expect to come out of their experience here is an end-to-end understanding of the operations department, particularly within fund administration. It's also important to note that this role is perfect for someone that may want to be in the asset management industry, but may not necessarily want to be in front office. We do kind of deal with a lot of the numbers, and we are involved in particularly in the trade process, particularly in the fund accounting space, and understanding the control and governance structure with our third-party relationships. So that is also massively important to understand the potential risks and kind of minimizing those, and relationships/interactions with our internal and external stakeholders. And that is it for me. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions at all that they wish to ask.
No, perfect. Thank you for that overview, Lloyd. Pretty comprehensive. I think the first question came directly in terms of understanding how to navigate dealing with like multiple different stakeholders, seeing as this team is interacting with so many different stakeholders from the organization. So how's that something that you kind of navigate on a day-to-day basis?
It's all about being able to, being organized and prioritization. So, and, the different streams of work. So for us, like myself, all those streams of work I'm involved with. So we kind of have a daily calls with kind of our transfer agency part of the work. We also have daily calls with our fund accounting piece of work. We have weekly calls with our custody, but it's all about being organized, and how each individual person does that is, kind of depends how they work. For me, I have to-do lists. I have, we manage our own team inbox as well, which kind of has certain work that's particularly labeled to us. We have a number of tasks and stuff that has to be done on a daily, monthly basis, but there's also a lot of work, as I mentioned, that we have projects and flexible work that changes on a daily basis, and it's up to each individual person how they prioritize and manage their own workload. We're not like a team where you kind of have the set same tasks each day. Things are very different, and things could pop up and become urgent as you log in each morning. So it's it's all about your relationship building, how you can build those relationships, speaking to people, kind of managing expectations, what is the priority, working particularly within your team. So it is quite it's quite an active role. There's a lot of things going on, and it's about how you manage those with your relationship. So it's definitely important. That would be definitely important for the successful candidate as they come in on the early days here.
Noted. No, thank you for that insight and overview. Another question that someone asked is just understanding if there's any overlap and how any challenges that are created from like the private debt team being added into the operations function, or if there's anything that you've kind of seen firsthand from your perspective since the private debt team has joined.
So it's at the moment it's like for our head of team, he is kind of it's a new team. It's a part of the world that he's not experienced so far. So has a huge focus on that at the moment, on learning what that is. In the medium to long term, it would be like for myself, getting experience of private debt and adding to more strings to my bow, and merging the two teams together and leveraging off each other. If there's some processes that they do which is better than the ones that we currently have in place, it's about learning that. But it's also, in the end, we'll be like one team. So although we'll have some subject matter experts in private debt, I could potentially, if they have people out of the office, I could pick up pieces of work, or I could learn aspects of that work, which potentially mean I could be involved with certain projects. I think within the asset management industry, you kind of have to go and grab kind of your opportunities as well. So, I have to be wanting to learn more about private debt rather than having two separate teams. But it is really early days at the moment, and kind of we are working like slowly merging as a team, and we'll be slowly like they'll be learning off us and we'll be learning off them.
Nice. And it sounds like it's a great opportunity to kind of like build the foundations of what that's going to look like working together as well, which would be perfect for like the intern that joins. The final question from Sarah is how does Federated Hermes actively support interns in gaining hands-on experience with global aspects of asset management and accounting? So I know that you have an accounting background, for example. You know, what were some of the ways that you were able to gain practical experience in that respect to gain that qualification?
So in honest truth, my qualification I kind of got from a previous experience. So I got that experience from when I was at PwC. So I've got kind of an accounting technician qualification. How I've kind of transferred that into here is that we do have statutory accounts process that is within our team for our funds. So although they are prepared by our third party, because that is outsourced, we have to oversee that, and obviously approval does come from ourselves before they get signed off by our board. So that's how we kind of leverage our our accounting experience in that space, which is we do have a statutory account process here. In terms of preparing actual financial accounts, that would mean we have a finance department that prepares our accounts for our internally for the business, but a lot of for our funds, they are prepared by our TPA, but we do oversee that process.
Nice. So it sounds like you still kind of get exposure in that respect.
Yeah. So we get exposure to the accounts. We, like as I mentioned, UCITS funds. We have 21 funds, so they are kind of like a 600 page set of accounts on a annual basis that are we deal with our auditors and also our TPAs on soon as from basically starting from December till filing in April. And then we have interim accounts that are slightly shorter that don't require audit sign off, but we still do prepare interim accounts for our Cayman fund because it's a master feeder structure. We have three sets of accounts for those, and again they are audited as well. So then they're filed in June.
Noted. No, thank you for that insight. With that being said, we'll cover off any other questions at the end, but I'll move on to Raj to cover marketing.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Raj. I head up the digital marketing team at Federated Hermes. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what the marketing function looks like and where my team slots in. So we have sort of four sub divisions within marketing. So on the left, you've got channel marketing, which consists of a team of 8 people. And they focus, they're split between focusing on individual countries and regions, as well as asset classes as well. So asset classes being your fixed income, private markets, equities, products. My team in the middle there, which is digital marketing. Okay, we're a team of 4. My role specifically looks after digital strategy, and within my team, we also have websites and email marketing function. We have a content team, which is split to look after insights, reports, and white papers, as well as EOS content. So EOS is part of our stewardship offering, which we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. And finally, we've got the design and production team. So they predominantly look after all presentations across the business, especially for things like sales pitches and other client decks, as well as workflow management tools. So things like Seismic, which is a tool that we use for or looking to implement right now, which has sort of document workflow functionality within there to push pieces out to the sales team, who would then send it onto the clients, and also our compliance tool, which sits within their realm as well. The thing with my team specifically is that we work across all of the marketing teams, sort of underpinning all the activities that we do across the business. It also means we liaise closely with sales, compliance, and our legal team as well. So things like GDPR and data privacy implementation, cookie policies, and things like that. All of that implementation comes through my team. And as we mentioned at the beginning as well, because we're going through this interim phase of connecting systems between the Federated business and the Hermes business, we work closely with our US counterparts to see that through. We are also going through a big period of change at the moment, especially with some of the key projects that I've highlighted down the bottom. So the first being the global website migration. Essentially, we have 30 websites globally, of which 27 are owned by my team. They run across 6 languages and 2 different client types. We and the US team look after 3 websites for North America. We're going through a big change at the moment whereby we're harmonizing all of those systems into one. So where the US have a different web platform or as CMS system, content management system for their side, we have a different one on our side, and we're unifying that into a third new one overall. So that's something that's kicking off now, and it's an 18-month project that we're starting off. As part of that, there's also a CRM harmonization. So our Salesforce instances, we currently have 4, which we're migrating into 1. The biggest challenge around all of this is the fact that each one of those is individually customized, and by migrating them into 1, we have to first unify them. So you can imagine there's a lot of information that my team have to run through to identify what's key, especially with things like GDPR and data privacy rules, how we migrate them across and match them up across different jurisdictions. We also have a email harmonization project going on. So again, 2 different platforms merging into 1. And recently we've launched our private markets pages, or are in the process of launching them. So it's a series of 6 pages that we've just recently built, but again, because it goes across 28 sites, in total it's 168 pages that we end up building and launching across those locales. As part of that, obviously, I mentioned we do have local sites. So a new local site that we're looking to build up is our LATAM regional site, and also a Japan site in Japanese. So in December, we launched our Japan English site, and now we're going through the process of translating that and bringing that into local language. So there's a lot of different moving parts that come from that. I've just seen a little question that's come in asking about what languages do we need? And you speak both French and Italian. So we do have a French site, an Italian site, a German site, a Mandarin site, I believe, and obviously English and Spanish. We've also got Portuguese, but that one is sort of fading away at the moment. Not to say you need those languages, though. Personally, I don't speak any of those languages, but it's still, if you have it, it helps. In terms of the ideal candidate, yeah, covering off, it's very similar to what Lloyd mentioned before in terms of having that attention to detail, having those organization skills, especially within Microsoft. If you do have any HTML experience, obviously that will be a great plus as well, although that's not necessarily essential either. And also having the ability to connect, where things would sit across different systems, and how digital strategies could be applied in different situations depending on what's required. We'd work really closely with the rest of the team to identify what emails we want to send out and which data list they go to. So there's a lot of logical thinking that's required behind each of those decisions that are made for executing those campaigns. And then finally, in terms of what you can expect from the internship, there will be an opportunity to run email campaigns, potentially building web pages as well on our existing platform, and helping with some of the local sites as well.
Nice. No, thank you for that comprehensive overview, Raj. A question that came in was kind of navigating the regulatory burden, right? In terms of creating marketing materials in the finance industry, and how do you kind of like toe the line? Because obviously the FCA are very keen on making sure that marketing materials is above par. So is that something that you ever had to come across?
No, that's a good question. So most of the content, in fact, all the content when it comes to my team is already complied. So we just have to make sure that from a digital marketing perspective, we don't distribute those to any countries that it's not supposed to go into. The other bit of regulation that we do look after, obviously, is GDPR that I mentioned before. So making sure that we are staying within the boundaries of what GDPR demands. I'll give you an example. So one of the new regulations that has come out from that's coming up next month actually is around cookie policies and harmful design. So you might know, when you go into every single website, you have to accept or decline cookies. The new rules are you have to have a single click to decline cookies as well. So that's something that we're working through at the moment with all of our sites to update. So things like that, we tend to work closely with our data privacy team on In addition to that, yeah, it's just making sure that any content that comes through to us only goes out to clients that have either opted in to receive that content and are in the same markets where that product is registered.
Nice. No, thank you for the insight on that. And is there any expectation from the digital marketing team to be able to create content that's able to drive interest from prospective investors? So not clients that, have opted in or is part of like the Federated Hermes ecosystem by any chance?
Yeah, we do. We're moving more into a lead scoring model as well. So how we nurture clients across the entire digital spectrum. So bringing them into the website in the first place, getting them to go through web pages, signing up to our content, and then scoring them based on their engagement so that we can pass them off as a lead to sales. That's something that we're working on at the moment to implement across our sites.
Nice. So it sounds like you're kind of involved from a business development standpoint as well then. And then the final question that came through is just, some of the challenges that you kind of navigate yourself, seeing as the industry can kind of be quite jargon heavy as well. So how do you kind of like, demystify that and make sure that you are communicating clearly and concisely to prospective investors and potential clients for Federated Hermes?
Yeah, luckily we didn't have to write any content on our side, so I tend to I'm able to avoid a lot of that myself. But it's good to know how some of the products sort of fit together within the different asset classes, and how different market environments trigger different responses to those investments as well, so that we can figure out what activity on the website would look like to reflect that, if that makes sense. And in terms of making sure when we have an email that comes through, which product list we're using to send that email to, who is it relevant for? That's probably the extent of it's not investment knowledge heavy, this role. So it's a lot more accessible in that sense.
Nice. No, thank you for that. We'll cover all the additional questions at the end of the session. I'll just move on to Mark for giving an overview of the information technology department.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Arnott. I started at Federated Hermes in September of last year as a project manager. And we have quite a large program of work which will be running over the next 2 years, which I've been brought on board to support. I guess, information technology is a very broad term. And, it's probably one of the most important aspects of keeping the company running. Absolutely everything we do is underpinned by technology. We wouldn't do a thing without technology, right? So it's quite broad. And what underpins the technology is data. So we work with vast amounts of data as well in order to support everything that the organization does. So I sit within investment management, data and common technology, which has a few different functions underneath it. The program that'll be running for the next 2 years is essentially after the sort of acquisition of Hermes by Federated Inc. We have a strong desire to operate as a single entity in the marketplace. So that means there are a number of things that we need to kind of bring together and streamline for us to kind of bring that offering to clients in the market, so we can have sort of co-managed portfolios, etc. So that's it. We are trying to mirror in the UK what the US have today. So the program is essentially moving from our existing order management systems in the UK onto similar ones to the US. And with that comes obviously the transfer of data, the integration, the networking, etc. So it's a very exciting sort of time to be joining information technology, particularly in this program, as you'll get to learn quite a lot. You'll get to see how large-scale change is managed in a fairly sizable organization, and all the challenges that come with that. How you manage a program of such scale and all the complexities. So essentially, you'll get to learn how the trade life cycle works and all the technology that underpins that, all the players. So, it's not that we build all our own technology. Most of the technology you'll find in any organization in finance really is an amalgamation of many different applications and tools and technologies that are put together to create all the magic. So, and again, it's all about data. So you have tons of data coming into the building that needs to be categorized, stored, put into the same formats, presented back to people, which drives decision making. Then there's the whole, once decisions have been made, when trades are executed, all the players and all the technologies involved in, a trader saying, I want to buy this equity, to, that actually becoming a reality and us having our name against that security that we bought, or at least on behalf of the client. Then there's also a huge regulatory and compliance piece. So, as a regulated entity, we need to comply with a number of regulations and show due diligence, etc. And again, all of that is data and technology. The other thing that you would learn coming in is, the sort of software development life cycle. How do we go from a concept or an idea or a desired outcome to turning that into a reality? So the full life cycle, from understanding the requirements, translating those into technical specs, getting those built and tested and deployed and integrated with all the other systems. So we are literally kicking off the program this month. We've been in planning last year. We've just kicked that off. So it's a very exciting time to be joining IT and this program in particular. So for the person coming on board, they'll be working very closely with myself. So it would be my intention to give you exposure across all of those sort of functions and pieces that I mentioned, but it will be where I can add value to the intern is I'm a very experienced project manager. So it will be a great opportunity for someone to come in and learn from myself and some of my colleagues about, how do you run something of such a size and complexity, and touch wood within budget and to the right sort of quality. It is quite an art form. I'm sure I can teach you many things that you won't find in any books. And likewise, my colleagues who are working on the program with me. I must commend Hermes on their standards of hiring people. You will many of these people are contractors and experts within their field, so you really will get to work with some of the best people in the industry, people with decades worth of experience. So a real exciting opportunity to come on board and learn about the technologies, the processes, and how these asset management organizations operate.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that comprehensive overview, Mark. A few questions have kind of been coming in to really understand the intricacies of the role. And I think someone said, obviously you mentioned that the role is quite data heavy. Is software / coding languages required in this role, or is that something that's a bit too technical and out of remit?
No, we certainly won't be. No, we're hiring people with tons of experience to do the coding. So this role will not involve writing any code. Although if that is an area of interest for somebody, you'd certainly be sitting with people writing code. But the expectation would not be to go away and write code. I think for this particular role, really looking for somebody who's interested in the project management space within technology, with some of the business analysis skills as well. So how do you get requirements from the business users? How do you translate them into specs that the technologist can then go write and code?
Noted. And just from your perspective, you've kind of like mentioned a bit about Hermes already in terms of the standard of hiring. What was the one thing that kind of like made you gravitate towards Federated Hermes as an organization?
Good question. To me, one of the most important things I found from my time in the workforce is that who you work for is extremely important. And what made me particularly interested in this role was who my boss would be. We were on the same page with on a number of subjects. And also some of the other people that I interviewed all struck me as very high caliber, and which just creates a great work environment. I mean, what you really want is competent people, and and the right kind of cultural fit. So those work very well for me. Also, with Federated Inc. and Hermes joining forces. The last time I kind of looked, we're number 20. We're ranked 20 globally as far as asset managers go, which is very good. I mean, 20th is good. There are a lot of asset managers out there. So we're doing quite well, and we're only going to do better. We've only just joined forces, and we have big plans on the horizon. So it's a good place to join if you're looking for sort of growth and career opportunities.
Of course. Somebody asked what the assessment/interview process is going to look like. So I'll kind of provide a bit of context into that, as Beyond Education is effectively managing like that whole side of things. So initially, when you apply, you'll be put through a screening interview, which would be done by the Beyond Education recruitment team once you kind of submit a CV and cover letter. Off the back of that, successful candidates would then be passed on and put through the interview process. And it's going to be a 2 to 3 stage interview process. So you'd have an initial interview with the hiring manager and the hiring team, which would be just competency based. And then the next stage would be more of a case study, right? So, really simulating the practical aspects of what you're going to be doing in the job, and to kind of understand how you'd be able to handle that. And then finally, there might be an interview, a final interview of members of the team and heads of the department effectively. And that pretty much wraps up the process. So it's a quite straightforward process, no assessment center involved, and more so testing out the capabilities of the practical aspects of the job that you're going to be doing in that respect. Another question that was sent as well privately was just understanding, some of the autonomy that you get as an intern, or if autonomy is even a thing, if you're going to be working within the project management space in the firm.
Yeah, I mean, I operate, personally, I operate very autonomously. I mean, that's one of my favorite quotes is by Steve Jobs, right? We don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. So, I do have quite a lot of autonomy in my role. In fact, it's expected, my bosses want me to crack on and get things done. They don't want to sit around kind of managing me. So I do have a level of autonomy. I mean, there are certain restrictions. I mean, we have sort of architectural guardrails and standards that we need to adhere to. We do follow a particular sort of methodology. So, you can't go around and do crazy things, but you as long as you're doing the right thing, and you have good reason for doing it, and you can evidence, the path that led you to make certain decisions, then it's all good. I will say that we don't operate in a silo. We constantly need to make sure that we are delivering what our clients want, and in our case, our clients are the business users. The traders, the operations people. We need to take their needs into consideration, so we deliver a solution that's fit for purpose to them.
Right. And then the final question, I think this was similar to the one that was asked to Lloyd, is, as a project manager, there's so many different stakeholders involved. And obviously, as you mentioned, there's a new program being implemented. So many new things and different moving parts, right? So how do you kind of navigate that effectively beyond just managing relationships? Give us some of the unfiltered truth about, some of the things that happen when, when there are conflicting priorities from various different stakeholders.
Sure. Well, it all starts off with having a very good plan.
Mm.
You know, thinking really carefully about the sequence of events, what your dependencies are, what are going to trip you up, you know, keeping an eye on those sort of risks that might derail you. There will always be conflicts of interest, especially when things start going wrong, right? There's, again, it's, you know, the plan should always be flexible. If you know, you shouldn't be too married to your plan, because inevitably things will not always go according to plan, right? So that's part and parcel. How you manage those conflicts is just through the again escalation and presentation. So, you know, ultimately a lot of these are driven by business decisions. So when you run into these kind of conflicting priorities, it's just a matter of collecting all the data and the options, and you know, reporting that back to the business so they can choose what's more important to them. And you know, then it's not that we need to make all those decisions ourselves. We just need to empower our stakeholders in order to make those decisions.
Yeah, of course. And I think everything just comes down to, like, you know, clear communication effectively and kind of presenting people with options ultimately. But that pretty much, I think I've run through every single question that was inside the chat. So once again, you know, thank you so much to Federated Hermes, you know, you guys taking the time out after work to kind of, you know, provide some insight into the various opportunities available. Just a bit of updates, guys. So the applications are now going to be fully live on our website now, once you've kind of gone through all the insight sessions. Also, the insight session videos are going to be shared as well, so you guys can have access to that to kind of inform your decisions when you're applying. And you know, really kind of like look back at these insight sessions to really pinpoint some of the things that were mentioned, and obviously referencing the insight session as well is also a good look as well. So I'd advocate for you guys to do that. And the only final thing from my side is I'm going to be sending an email after for feedback on the session, because it really informs the sessions moving forward and how to make them better. But with that being said, I'd like to wrap up, and once again, you know, thank you to Federated Hermes and the team for turning up and sharing a bit of insight. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolute pleasure.
And thank you for coming through the chat. Bye, guys.